Does anybody remember that show that used to air on Toon Disney called The House of Mouse? If you do, then it's about Mickey Mouse and his pals showing animated short films, musical numbers, etc., in front of various Disney characters. But what I found out is that, well, there was actually an episode which was supposed to be the final episode of the entire show, actually. And I actually managed to find this at my local Best Buy near my house. The cashier told me that it was $19. So I paid her the money, and she wished me goodbye. After I left, to which I responded by waving goodbye at her. Now, when I got home, I opened the case, only to find a VHS tape that read The House of Mouse, series finale, written in purple Sharpie. I was pretty curious about it, so I went downstairs to my basement, turned on my TV, and proceeded to put the tape into my VCR player. Normally there would be advertisements for various Disney movies and a menu screen. But no. Actually, none of that showed up. It just went straight to the episode. As the intro started, the theme song sounded perfectly normal. Something was a bit off, though. Nobody came into the building, and the logo was filled with inverted colors instead of the typical red, white, and blue that it normally had. After the intro ended, the screen went to black and faded into the outside of the building with the name of the episode, which was called The House Goes Downhill. Then faded to the inside of the building, but all the seats were empty. Then Mike the microphone appeared and said, "Hello, everybody." "What? Oh, yeah, there are no guests here. Sorry about that. Anyway, here's Mickey Mouse." And after that happened, Mickey Mouse introduced himself. But when he realized that there was no audience, he then went to Minnie Mouse, who was putting her makeup on, and asked, "Minnie, where are all the guests?" Minnie simply replied with, "I don't know, maybe they don't feel like watching our performance today." Mickey then went to Goofy, who was mopping the floors, and told him, "Goofy, have you seen our guests?" Goofy then checked his watch and replied with, "Gorsh, it's only been a few hours. They should be here by now." Mickey then went to Donald and Daisy, who were at the cashier, and asked them if the guests were coming or not. And they simply told him that they hadn't seen them since the time that they were supposed to come here. Pluto then ran up to Mickey, and he licked him for about a couple moments, about 7 times. He then told Pluto that the guests had not arrived yet. Pluto then whined sadly, but Mickey cheered him up by saying, "Don't worry, pal. I'll promise our guests will be here soon." Mickey then patted Pluto on the head and gave him a wink for his promise. Mickey then walked out of the building to see if any guests were here, and luckily, all the Disney characters, including various characters from Gargoyles, Bonkers, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and Tailspin, started making their way to the building where the House of Mouse was located. Mickey then went inside telling all his friends that the guests had thankfully arrived. And when they heard this, they immediately started cheering and proceeded to get everything ready in time for the guests to show up. After everyone was in their seats, Mike the microphone began to introduce Mickey Mouse. Mickey walked up on stage and said to the audience, "We're going to put on a special cartoon, so be prepared." The audience responded by whistling and cheering. Mickey then said, "But first, does anybody have to use the restroom before it starts?" Nobody raised their hand, indicating that they were prepared. "Okay," Mickey said. "Now here's a cartoon that's sure to make you smile." Mickey then walked off stage as the screen turned on. And when it turned on, at first there was nothing but static. It lasted for about 30 seconds until the audience immediately started booing at the static that was on screen. Mickey immediately hears this and goes to where Horace is, and tells him what's wrong with the cartoons. Horace then explained to Mickey that the projector was too broken to be fixed. Mickey then came on stage again, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we unfortunately can't show any cartoons at the moment because our projector is extremely damaged." And after he said this, the audience just went completely silent. And Goofy then walked up on stage where Mickey is and says, "But don't feel bad. We've got some tasty delicacies in our kitchen." And when he said that, the audience once again started applauding and cheering. The screen then fades to a scene where Goofy is serving platters with various foods on them, one of which had Lady and Tramp getting served the classic spaghetti and meatballs that was shown in the restaurant scene from the classic Lady and the Tramp movie. Another had Briar Fox getting what looked like chicken and waffles from KFC, along with Briar Bear, who got a double bacon cheeseburger with onion rings on the side. Briar Rabbit got a stack of red velvet pancakes. Snow White was given a Parmesan Caesar salad. Baloo and Louie were given a Subway roast beef sandwich with potato chips and a berry burst salad. Robin Hood and Maid were given a Filet-O-Fish sandwich with french fries dipped in barbecue sauce. You get the idea. It all looked pretty disgusting, these characters that were given food. The guests managed to chow down on it that they were given for a bit. That is until immediately they spit out the gross mixture that was in their mouths and started to complain about the food tasting really foul. Goofy apologizes to them by saying that the food that they were given had swamp water and bacteria in it, due to the kitchen being very dirty. Prince John slaps a piece of mushroom pizza onto Goofy and says, "I could have had White Castle instead of this piece of rubbish." "Same with me, sire," Sir Hiss shouted. "I could have had Arby's as well," the Sheriff of Nottingham yelled. And one by one, after that, all of the guests started throwing their food at Goofy as he ran into the kitchen to clean it up. Donald Duck walks into the scene and yells, "What is with all of this madness?" Everyone immediately stopped what they were doing as Don Carnage walked up to Donald Duck, saying, "It's that waiter that has given us these filthy delicacies." Donald was shocked to hear this and says, "Don't worry, sir, I'll do something to make you smile." Don Carnage then pulls out his sword and says, "Oh, you better plunder, or else we'll slice you up into pieces. Isn't that right, men?" All of Don Carnage's air pirates who were sitting at some of the tables replied with, "Of course, Mr. Carnage." And Donald immediately runs to the backstage room as the scene fades to black. And after a few seconds of a black screen, it fades to Mike the Microphone, announcing that somebody new will be performing for tonight's concert. All of the Disney characters cheered with excitement as Scrooge McDuck began to sing, "She Works Hard for the Money," while twerking and throwing dollar bills all over the place. I didn't really know what I was seeing, but after 2 minutes through the song, the audience then started to throw rocks at him, while insulting him with mean phrases, such as, "Your dance moves are horrible," and "Go burn in hell, you sick old bastard." And once Scrooge McDuck hears about this, he immediately stops, looking at the audience, who all had these angry expressions plastered onto their faces, as he walks off stage looking miserable. He then walks into the backstage area telling Huey, Dewey, and Louie that his performance wasn't as good as it would be. They then tell Donald, Daisy, Goofy, Minnie, and Pluto about this as Mickey comes in looking confused and says, "What's going on here, fellas?" Huey replied with, "Uncle Scrooge's stage performance wasn't as impressive as he thought it would be." Now, Mickey is shocked to hear this, as it cuts to the audience bickering with each other. Mickey then comes on stage and says, in a depressed voice, "Hi there, everybody. We're very sorry that our show didn't go as we planned. but at least we tried our best." After he said that, Briar Fox shouted, "Are you kidding me? That was the most dumbest nightclub we've ever been to. You know what? We finally had enough of this bullshit," Chancellor Trample said in an angry tone. "And to make matters worse, we are going to end you all whether you like it or not," Demona shouted as her eyes started to glow green. All of the guests, minus Jafar, Maleficent, Demona, and Hades, got out of their seats and pulled out various weapons, such as firearms, pitchforks, pistols. Mickey Mouse notices this and says, "Please calm down, everyone. It's only a mistake that we've made." Then all of a sudden, Stromboli pointed his rifle on the video screen and shot it. "How do you like that? I destroyed the video screen," he says with a sinister smile on his face. Mickey Mouse replied with nothing and runs away in a panic while all of the guests start to run after him. Mickey Mouse runs into the backstage area where Donald, Pluto, Goofy, Minnie, Daisy, Horace, Clarabella, Huey, Dewey, Louie, Scrooge McDuck, and Max are sitting on the ground in fear and join them. "Thank goodness you're here, Mickey," Minnie says as she hugs him. "Oh gosh, you're welcome," Mickey said as he smiled at her. They all see the guests looking very frustrated as they held out their weapons. "You're all going to pay for what you've done," Pete says in an angry tone. Clarabelle told them, "What do you mean? We're only trying our best." Smarty then said, "We don't give a shit about your stupid antics. Get ready to die." The screen then cut to an outside view of the House of Mouse while sounds of gunshots, explosions, and chainsaws could be heard, as well as the painful screams of Mickey and his pals. It then went back inside where the mutilated bodies of Mickey and his pals were shown, as well as the rest of the Disney characters who had satisfied looks on their faces. Goliath then says to everybody, "Now that we've destroyed these pathetic people, it's time to have a blast." All the Disney characters cheered as it fades to a scene where all the characters... It's almost too graphic to say, but "Shake It" by Metro Station plays in the background. And this goes on for about 2 minutes before it fades outside of the nightclub where the House of Mouse sign is replaced by a sign that reads, "Main Street Strip Club." It cuts to the credits, but the music is replaced with "Forget You" by CeeLo Green. Sky was green like a tornado had come. The tape then cut to static, and I then decided to take it out of the VCR to throw it away. It was such a weird and terrible episode to watch. I hope I can find a better VHS tape or DVD of the same show.